Well, hey there, Knotty Friends. Welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, hi, my name is Chris, aka Naughty Bear. I'm an amigurumi designer, crocheter, and crafty person here on YouTube, and I post new videos every single week, so if hey, that sounds good to you, be sure to stick around. This week, I thought it would be fun to check out one of my favorite online retailers ever. I mean, technically, they have physical shops in Europe, very far away from me. However, that is, of course, HOBBII'S, and I want to check them out and see what their best-selling yarns are, make a purchase of a bunch of them, and then review them all for you and give you my quick review of them all, what I think of them, the cost of them, the shipping costs, the quality, how it crochets, all that stuff. This is not sponsored in any way. I just wanted to do this because I really love them. I also have a bunch of Hobbii yarn. All this yarn here is from Hobbii. However, I don't have all of their best-selling yarns. I know what I like to use. However, I will talk about a lot of the stuff in my yarn stash, as I know some of it is included in that list. So hopefully that sounds good to you. I think this is gonna be a lot of fun. So let's start by doing our favorite thing ever, doing a little yarn shopping. Alright, so like I said in the intro, I don't necessarily need to buy more yarn. I'll probably just buy 1 or 2 skeins of whatever I see that isn't their most popular. However, I know that the cotton yarn here is what they're really well known for. I don't need to buy more of that. I think it could be argued that I am good in that department. I also have some other chenille yarns and things, so I won't need to do a full shop here. However, so I've just loaded the shop. Here we are. They're doing their spring Easter sales and things like that. The nice thing about Hobbii is they usually have some kind of sale on, which is always nice. So we're just going to scroll through. We have their great deals. Like I said right here, I have the cotton yarn already. That's what's next to me here. I also have Friends and Rainbow. They're very similar. And then Toucan, which is one of their chenille yarns, as well as Honey Bunny, which I have both of. So I don't need to order any of that. We have Amigo here. This is great deals anyways. I don't think this is... Okay, popular products. So popular products here. The first one we have is Amigo. I have actually tried Amigo and I do have some of it, although it's not exactly this kind of Amigo. I'll have to take a look, but I know I had some neon green and I was working on a sweater in Amigo once upon a time. But I don't know if I have those anymore. If I don't, I'll just have to buy some. Okay, so Amigo we'll have to put on hold. Rainbow Friends I have enough of. Toucan I already have. Friends cotton linen I have actually never used. I don't know if this one is new. Okay, so it does indeed look like there are 16 colors. Looking through here, they are all variegated yarns. Some look like they are white variegation. This one here looks like it's pink on purple, pink on dark violet, which in theory I really like. However, when I make something for myself, I don't always like... That's a lie. It looks really cute. I don't know what I would make for myself out of this. Like I was saying, I really do like this color. I know I said I only wanted to get 1 or 2 skeins, so I'm just gonna pick one color. As far as wearability goes, I'm thinking something this summer. Also, you may have noticed it is on sale. It is $4 off, which is actually really good. So I might just go ahead and grab a couple more skeins than normal, just because it is on the cheaper side. And I think these are going to be probably 50-gram skeins. They are. So this is 50% cotton, 35 viscose, and 15% linen. All the information is here if you are interested. I'll also leave it in the description. But yeah, I think we're just going to go ahead and go with the pink dark violet because it is the vibe, I think, for the summer. I do like this black currant and lavender, but I don't think it's for me. Yeah, okay, so that is our first purchase. I have added it to the cart. Next up, we have Sultan, which is another cotton, what they're known for. I've seen a lot of these. They are color changing, self-color gradient color changing yarns. And I've seen a lot of people make like shawls and things out of this. They have some amazing like colors here. They look like some kind of gemstone. This one looks like a pride flag, which is really cute. I do love the way this looks. This is really cool as well. Seeing all these colors, 47 of them, is a really good color selection right off the bat. I also love this like icy blue. Jeez Louise. Jelly Opal is actually really cute as well. Again, this is on sale too at the time of filming. This is looks like about half off, which is really nice. I think we're just gonna go ahead and get 2 skeins of the Sultan Superfine 100% cotton yarn in color 47, pink Tanzanite. Let's give it a shot. Add to cart. Next up is Friends Cotton Silk, which I have actually never tried either. So I'm assuming this is a 77% cotton, 23 barrette silk, I believe is how you say it. It looks like there's quite a few colors. 23 colors, it looks like, possibly. Somewhere around 23 colors. Again, this looks like it could be possibly variegated again. It might just be the texture. Oh, maybe it's the texture. It looks like it has some kind of, the way it's spun together, has some kind of texture to it. Could be interesting. So with this one, I'm not sure. Again, I really do like this blue color here. It's very nice. I do also really like this eucalyptus. I think I'm going to go ahead and play it a little bit safer here and get this eucalyptus color, because this is actually a really nice kind of green. Although the bottle green is also very cute. Okay, we're going with bottle green. Never mind. I switched it up. Again, this one's on sale. So we got a couple skeins of that. Another one on here is Universe by Hobbii, which is another color changing yarn. I actually have some of this. It's actually right next to me here, and I have used this one before. I made a little hat for my niece, so I don't have to get that one. There's this recycled cotton, which I'm kind of interested in trying. The Friends multi-wheel is, I'm assuming, very similar to the one we just got, so I think I'm going to skip it for now. So the next one is this recycled cotton yarn, which I have actually never heard of. It's called We Love Yarn. I'm assuming it is, I'm not sure if this one's made by Hobbii or not. No, the brand is We Love Yarn. Okay, so I'm going to try this out as well. I've never tried to use a recycled cotton yarn, so I'm excited. Let's go with this nice red color. I'll get a couple skeins of this as well. And the next one, and the last one I'm going to be buying that I see in their most popular list, is this Minium, I think is how it's pronounced. It's a super fine 100% acrylic yarn. It is also on sale, which is always nice. Information's here if you are interested. So I'm going to look at some colors. I love the color palette so far. It's very fresh and bright. It feels very spring. I don't know how I'm going to pick one of these, but I really like this aqua. And I also love this violet. To be honest, I'm not a huge fan of working with super fine yarns. They just take so long to work up. However, maybe I will find a way to increase the hook size or something. I really like these colors. I know there's not many, but I love the way they look. Okay. The next yarn I see here on their most popular is this Fantasy Jumbo yarn. It's a super bulky, love to hear it. It works up nice and fast. Premium acrylic yarn. It looks very warm, which going into spring and summer, I don't know is the best time to be buying this. Looks like another variegated yarn. Very pretty. Not a huge color selection. However, I do like the ones I see. Kind of, actually. I don't know how I feel about this one. Actually, I really like this one. I don't know about for me, but this would be good for some people I know that would really like this purple. I actually really like this Riverside one. This will probably be for a project going into next year, maybe sometime in the fall. It is also on sale, so you can't go wrong with everything you buy is on sale. We love to see it. So I'm going to put a couple of skeins of those in my cart. Magic Rain. Oh boy. Is also very pretty. Alright, so I just made our purchase. I'm very excited. Hobbii usually doesn't take too long to get here, even though they're in Denmark, I believe, and I'm in Canada. It usually comes within a week, sometimes a little bit longer. Depends if it gets nabbed by customs, but usually it's pretty good. So now we just have to wait, and I will come back when we have our delivery. Look what finally came, everyone. Alright everyone, welcome back. I know for you it's been about a second. However, in real life it's been almost 3 weeks, and I just got the Hobbii delivery today, which is kind of wild. Had this been my first time ordering from them, I might have been worried. However, there seemed to be some kind of like issue with the delivery. Nothing to do with them or me, it just like got delayed for some reason. I know, like I said, from personal experience, because I've ordered from them a couple times before, a couple hundred. that's not the usual case. It was just a weird fluke. So I'm not going to hold it against them. I've ordered things on like a Sunday night and had it come the following like Thursday or Friday. And they're in Denmark and I live in Canada. So you just never know how long it's going to take. Obviously, there are a bunch of variables that are out of control. But with all that said, it is finally here. I'm so excited to open it with you. I'm going to do just a little unboxing here real quick. I want to give you my thoughts and opinions on everything, just in case you're interested in getting it yourself. But let's start off by opening up this package that we've been waiting for 3 weeks for. Finally is here. Alright, so let's just rip open the package here. It did come in 2 bags. This is the biggest of the 2, and it looks like it has the most yarn, or the bigger balls of yarn in it, rather. Hopefully you can see that okay. It looks good. Alright, so we have lots of color, lots of yarn goodness. Oh my god, looking at this, let's pull this out right away. So I believe this was the Sultan. Yes, Cotton King's Sultan. And look how beautiful that colorway is. Wow, that is gorgeous. I'm kind of terrified. I did not realize how thin this fiber is. Is that... Okay, wait, I just want to see. Okay, so it's not twisted. It's actually 3 strands. Hopefully you can see that okay. And they don't look like they're twisted at all, which is interesting. But that color is so beautiful, and it's really compact. I feel like there is a lot of yarn in here. 800 meters, 200 grams, so that's quite a bit. I don't know what I'm going to make out of this. I feel like whatever project I use this for is going to be a project that I'll have going for a long time, looking at that yarn weight. But moving right along, what else we have? We have some Amigo, which was their acrylic yarn. This looks like the Amigo, maybe Best Friends Forever. BFF, if I remember correctly, from the 90s. So we have Hobbii Amigo. This is very soft and squishy for an acrylic right off the bat, is the first thing I'm noticing. Next up, we have these beautiful skeins. I remember these. I was very excited for these. Fantasy Jumbo. This is also 100% acrylic. And let's just look. All the details are here, 200 grams. It is a big ball of yarn, and I absolutely love this color. I can't remember... color number 10, I think it was Peacock or something. I definitely said it before, but it's been 3 weeks, so I forget, forgive me. But I'm very excited for this. This is beautiful. I'll probably make a hat or something. Not that I want to think too much about winter clothes, because it's finally getting warm here and very sweaty today because it's humid and thundery. We have another ball of the Fantasy Jumbo again. This one is just a little bit more minty green. Which is also very pretty. This would also make something very cute for winter. Excited for that. And then we have another skein of that as well. Here we have some more Amigo, which, like I said, this is so soft just feeling it. I wouldn't have guessed that this was acrylic. Yep. So it's 100% acrylic. It is the softest acrylic I've probably ever felt. So that's off to a good start there. And then we have... Why did I get 2 of these? Why did I get 2 of these? I have no idea. I definitely did not realize, rather, how thin that strand of yarn is. That is like sewing thread. That is going to be interesting, Christopher. If you have a good project I can use this for, a pattern or something, let me know in the comments below. And then last thing in this package, actually we have 2 things, but the last piece of yarn is this We Love Yarn, which is the recycled cotton, which I'm excited to try out. First initial thoughts, this feels more like the cotton that people don't like. It's a little bit more rough. However, we'll actually see how it works up. It looks pretty. The color is nice, so we'll see how it goes. So that's the last piece of yarn in that package. Hobbii does usually send along... Let me just make sure. I wasn't recording any of that. I wasn't recording any of that. Well, except for on here, thankfully. Okay, anyways. Hobbii does send along these cute little heart-shaped candies, which you'd think they might be cinnamon heart, but they are actually cherry flavored. So it's a very sweet thing of them to do. Now I have to fake record opening that bag again. All right, that's fine. Let's grab this bag. So in this one, we have our Friends Cotton Silk, which again is so soft. Love this color. This is a beautiful color. I'm so excited to work this up. It feels gorgeous. Super excited about that. Next, we have Friends Cotton Linen. I was excited to try this one. I remember the colorway and really being excited for those for that pink and purple combo. Very Knotty Bear, very Knotty Bear coated. Again, feels super soft. Making something linen could be good for summer. So it looks like in this bag we have a lot more skeins of the Cotton Friends silk and the linen. This is another really, really thin or fine weight yarn. I think it's called like fingering or sock weight or something. I can't remember. Okay. So this is another project, and it looks like I have a couple skeins of this in here. So I'm going to need another project. Maybe some socks would be good for this. I'll have to see what they recommend. Chris, you've gotten an orange too. I mean, I love these colors. This is very, very spring vibes, very spring coated. Will I make something in time for spring? Who knows? Maybe summer. But some cute socks would be nice. As for the actual reviewing of each yarn, I'm going to keep it pretty simple. I've broken it down into 3 categories. The first one is quality. I'm going to consider things like stitch definition, how it feels when I'm working it up and using it, how it feels on my hook, does it split, things like that. The next one is the versatility of it. Does it come in a bunch of different colors? Does it come in different weights or sheens? Variegated options? What are the options for this yarn? How many places can you use it? And how many different projects could you use it on? And then the last category is value. How much did this cost? What is the material? Is it worth it? Does it go on sale? I'm going to give each category a 1 out of 3 Knotty Bears. 1 being fair but definitely needs work, and 3 being the best, excellent, wouldn't change a thing. I'm also going to include a third, like, minor category called Will It Ami? Obviously, I'm an amigurumi designer, so knowing whether any of this can be used as an amigurumi is definitely helpful. Hopefully that sounds good to you. I'm excited to get into some of these yarns I've never tried before. There's a lot of beautiful colors and textures going on here, so I'm very excited for that. Just a reminder, this is not sponsored in any way, so I'll be doing this completely biased-free. Well, a little bit. I do love Hobbii, but I will be giving a fair and honest review and my honest opinion of all these different yarns. So with that said, let's get into it. We have a lot of yarn to review, so let's just jump into it, starting off strong with Amigo BFF, which is Hobbii's 100% acrylic yarn. The website describes it as a really soft yarn with airy volume. It is produced from 100% HB acrylic, a very high quality. It comes in an enormous selection of colors. HB stands for high bulk, and it is a production technique that uses steam and pressure to make the fibers contract a little and curl so that they become fuller. And the result is a light and soft yarn that is both comfortable to work with and wear on the body. And this makes sense. When I first opened it, the first thing I noticed is that it was so soft. The softest acrylic yarn I've ever touched before, so that makes sense. Whatever they're doing is working. But with all that said, let's make a swatch and see if it actually lives up to the hype. So I just finished our test swatch here, as you can see, and overall I'm very happy with this. I didn't have too many problems. There was a little bit of splitting happening, but nothing too concerning. I think the stitch definition looks really nice. Not the best I've ever seen, but I'm pretty happy with it. There's a little bit of drape to it, not too crazy. However, I'm assuming that steam blocking it would really help as well. However, where I think this really shines is with its softness. Like I said, this would be ideal for someone looking to make a wearable with acrylic, maybe save a little bit of money. As far as the quality, value, and versatility, the prices I'm going to say are in Canadian, so you can convert it to yourself. However, for the quality, I'm going to give this a 2 out of 3 Knotty Bears. Originally, I thought this would be a 3. However, the stitch definition isn't as nice as I would like it. I mean, on camera, it looks pretty good, but I've definitely seen better. And because it was threading just a tiny bit, I kind of knocked it down to a 2, just to be fair. But it does crochet very nice and is soft, like I said, for an acrylic yarn. Next up, we have value or cost. I'm going to give it a 2 here as well. Each skein runs for $4.10 Canadian. Now, I did get a 50% off, I believe, so it was around $2.15 per skein, which is a much better price. And if you can get it on sale, I highly recommend it. There are definitely cheaper options out there, value yarns and things. However, like I said previously, this is a very soft yarn. So that's where it outperforms a lot of the other acrylics that I've seen. But $4.10 for 50 grams or 175 meters, I believe, isn't amazing, but it's also not that bad. So like I said, we're gonna give it a 2 for value. And then the last category is versatility, and I think this is really where it also shines. I'm gonna give this a 3 out of 3 Knotty Bears because there are 4 types of Amigo yarn. There is XL, Chunky, BFF, and Giga, I believe, are all the ones. The XL, I believe, is actually also BFF. It's just a bulkier weight of this one. But there are 60 colors and a bunch of different weights, so there is definitely a lot you can do with this. You can make it for wearables, you can make it for decor around the home, you could use it on tapestry crochet, and of course you could use this on amigurumi. So should you use it for ami? I'm going to change it from will it ami, because technically anything can be amigurumi. Any yarn will technically make an amigurumi, but should it amigurumi? I'm going to say yes for this. I think this is a good option. Mostly having so much variation in colors and weights and things really help. Overall, I'm really happy with HOBBII'S Amigo yarn. It's really soft, lots of colors, lots of different weights, and if you can get it on sale, it is a really good deal. Next up is a yarn that I am no stranger to. If you've watched me on the channel before, you've probably heard me talk about it, and that is of course HOBBII'S Friends or rainbow cotton yarns. As you can see, I have a lot of it behind me here. It is what I use primarily for my amigurumi designs, and I use it a lot, like I said, so I don't need to do too much testing here, but it is a lightweight yarn and it comes in over 70 colors. The stitch definition is fantastic. I have a pattern here that I just released for my Patreon users, and it was for Easter. It was this little baby dinosaur, which was super cute. But as you can see, the colors are so vibrant. The stitch definition is amazing. You really cannot beat this. It's also so soft. I know a lot of people, when they think of cotton, they think of itchy and scratchy, but this yarn is just not that. It is so soft, it crochets like butter, and I'm just obsessed with it. Obviously, I'm biased. This is my favorite yarn for amigurumi. I've also made blankets and clothes out of it, and they all turned out fantastic. So I'm just going to jump right into reviewing it. As far as quality goes, I'm going to give it a 3 out of 3 Knotty Bears. Like I said, amazing stitch definition, over 70 different colors, super soft, crochets like butter. It feels so nice. If you haven't used it, definitely give it a shot. As far as value goes, I'm also going to give it a 3 out of 3 here. It usually goes for $2.40 Canadian before tax. However, it often goes on sale for 25% or more. So I usually wait for a sale. I believe the Rainbow 88 is currently 25% off as of filming this video. They come in 50 gram skeins like this here, and they have these amazing little, they're called Easy Start tabs, if I could just find one. They look like this, and if you just pull on it, it gives you an immediate center pull, which if you like to work from the center of your skeins like I do, not to have to go in there and try and find the center pull, and then you end up with a bunch of yarn barf. So you immediately just get a clean center pull, which is great. So for that reason, I'm giving it a 3 out of 3 Knotty Bears for its value. And then the last category we have is versatility. And again, I'm going to have to give this a 3 out of 3 Knotty Bears, mainly because there are so many colors. There's also an 8.6 and an 8.4, which are thinner weight yarns if you are interested. So you have some weight options and you have a whole range of colors. Like I said, you can use this for clothes, decor, amigurumi, pretty much anything it will work for. But enough ranting and raving about this yarn. You all know I love it. Let's move on to our next one. Next up is HOBBII'S Universe yarn, which I already had the XL version. It's just a heavier weight. It is a 98% acrylic and 2% polyester. The HOBBII website says Universe XL gives you all the same positive features, but as the name suggests, the XL version is extra thick, which offers completely new possibilities for exciting knitting and crocheting projects. The yarn is distinguished by its long gradients with beautifully balanced colors. Colors are complemented by a glittery thread in a matching color. This creates more subdued glitter effect, making the yarn even more elegant. And I gotta say, that is what drew me to it, is that gradient. The colors are so beautiful. With that said, I'm gonna make a swatch because it's been a minute since I used this, and I will come back and let you know what I think. So I just finished the Universe swatch here. It's just a little baby swatch, as you can see. And right off the bat, it is so pretty. That gradient is just so smooth, and the little glitter just adds just a tiny bit of flair to it. So visually, I'm really happy with this. Now, if you have ever used a yarn with a tinsel running through it, or a metallic yarn, whatever you want to call it, you probably know that it is not the most comfortable thing to crochet with, and this is pretty much no different in your hands as it's running through your fingers. It's a little bit rough. It's not the worst I've ever used, but if you've used one, like I said before, you know what I'm talking about. The biggest issue I had was when actually crocheting with this, it just kept getting caught. The actual thread itself was perfectly fine, like the yarn part of this I had no issues with, but that little tinsel, that little piece of metal running through it, I found myself getting caught in, breaking quite a bit, and it is kind of annoying if I'm being 100% honest. However, I do still think it is worth the payoff because, like I said, that gradient is so beautiful and smooth, and the little tinsel does add just a little bit of flair. And the end result is actually pretty soft. You do get a little bit of that itchy scratchiness from the tinsel, but it's not that bad. Also, the stitch definition is very nice. I'm pretty happy with that as well. As far as quality goes, I struggled with this one because, like I said, working it up is a little bit of a struggle. However, the end result, the stitch definition is really nice. You can't beat that gradient, and just the little bit of glitter in there really elevates it. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a 2 out of 3 Knotty Bears for quality. As far as value goes, it is $8.50 Canadian before tax, which is kind of pricey. The regular version was on sale for 50% off. I believe it still is now, which is a much better value and definitely worth it. This is kind of more of like a specialty yarn because it has that gradient and the tinsel in it, so I do understand why it is a little bit more expensive. The XL version that I'm using is 100 gram skein, and it is 220 meters. So you do get quite a bit of yarn in that skein. There is also the regular Universe, which is a super fine yarn. But honestly, all in all, I think because it is a specialty yarn, it has that beautiful, really well done gradient to it, and the tinsel and everything. If you get it on sale, I think this is a pretty good value. So I'm going to give it a 3 out of 3 Knotty Bears. And then lastly, we have Versatility, and this one was rough. There are only 2 options. There's the XL, which is the lightweight, which is what I'm using here, and then there's just the Universe, which is a super fine version. The XL version, I believe, has over 15 colors, and then the standard Universe, the super fine version, I think had over 30 colors. So there are a lot of variations for color. However, as far as what you would use this for, it's pretty specific to like shawls and some clothing, things you'd wear over your garments, because I don't think you'd want this on your skin. I did see some people leave some photos in the reviews, and they were beautiful. There were a couple really nice shawls and things, and also a couple amigurumi. Now, I'm going to say for sure to amigurumi, I'm going to give it a no. However, as you can see from these photos, it is possible, and these are very cute. Again, I don't super recommend it, but if you're looking for something specific like this, it could work. But overall, I think this is a really fun yarn if you can get past the annoying tinsel and the feeling on your hand and stuff. I do think in the end, the results are worth it. And if you're looking for a really nice gradient color changing yarn, then I would definitely recommend this one. Next up, we have Fantasy Jumbo, which is a super bulky acrylic yarn, and I didn't notice this before. I don't know if it was there, but it's actually being discontinued, which makes me really sad because I was actually very excited for this one. I mean, I still am because the color is so pretty. The regular version, which is still a bulky weight yarn, I believe, isn't being discontinued, so it is still there and it has all the same colors, I believe, but the bulky one is being discontinued. Side note, it does mean it's on sale. However, Hobbii.com describes this as a thick version of HOBBII'S Fantasy that comes in a large, chunky skein. The yarn is voluminous and soft and has beautiful deep colors reminiscent of a kaleidoscope. You get the softest acrylic yarn with a lovely volume, which makes the yarn a dream to work with. I'm going to go ahead and make our swatch of this. It shouldn't take too long, and I will come right back. Alright, so I just finished our swatch, and here it is. And honestly, I'm really impressed with this. This is probably my favorite one to work with so far. It just really crocheted well. You know, when you get that yarn and it just goes through the stitches super easy, you don't have any threading, splitting, or issues. This was that yarn for me. Not as soft as the Amigo is, however, the color is beautiful. It has a slight gradient to it, you can see here. I didn't get to some of the greens that are in there. You can see from this, it eventually gets a little bit more turquoise and green. So I can only imagine how pretty this is fully worked up. So needless to say, I'm pretty impressed with this. There is a slight drape, although like I said, with most acrylic, you'll probably want to steam it to really get that full drape in there. Stitches look really, really nice. I'm very happy with that. As far as reviewing it goes, for quality, I'm between a 2 and a 3. I do really like it. I like the color. I like that it didn't split. And the stitch definition is actually really nice. I think I'm going to go ahead and give this a 3, which is surprising to me. I didn't think I would like it that much. But there it is, 3 out of 3 Knotty Bears for quality. Now, as far as value, this is where it kind of loses me a little bit, considering it is an acrylic yarn. It is $15.90 Canadian before taxes, which is quite steep for an acrylic yarn. Now, like I said, I really do like it, so I could see the appeal, and you get a lot out of a skein. This one here is 200 grams, which is 240 meters, so you do get quite a bit of yarn for that, so it does make sense in the end. I'm going to go ahead and give it a 2 out of 3 Knotty Bears for value, just because that is a little steep. Now, like I said, this is being discontinued, so it is currently on sale for $6.40 Canadian. So if you do like it, I'd go and grab it now before it goes forever, because that is a really good deal for this. Just look how pretty that color is. It looks so good on camera too. So we're going to give it a 2 out of 3 Knotty Bears for value. For versatility, I'm going to have to give it a 1 out of 3 Knotty Bears, I think, because with this jumbo being discontinued, you're left with just the Fantasy, which is still a bulky weight yarn, but there's only 9 colors, which is not a whole lot, and I think it's pretty specific as to what you could use it for. I think, like I said, garments would be a pretty good option, maybe some decor and things, but I think you're pretty limited to those colors and to the one weight. So for those reasons, I'm going to give it a 1 out of 3 Knotty Bears. Overall, I really enjoyed this yarn. It's super soft, the stitch definition is nice, and the colorways are beautiful. I love the way they've each been tailored and designed to a specific aesthetic. So I would definitely recommend this yarn to anyone looking for an acrylic yarn that is soft and has some beautiful color gradients to it. I would definitely recommend this. Just realized I didn't have my mic on, not a big deal. Next up, we have the Color Kings Sultan, which is a 100% cotton yarn, and I've been dreading this just because it is such a fine yarn. HOBBII'S says that Sultan is a brand new and fabulous cake yarn made from 100% soft cotton. This yarn is characterized by 4 thin cotton threads that are not twined together. Hence, it's perfect for shawls, afghans, and scarves, where the long color changes will come out perfectly. Cotton Kings Sultan is available in many magnificent color combinations and is presented in big, luscious 200-gram balls with a meterage of approximately 800 meters. So, like I said, I've been dreading using this one. Knowing that it's made for shawls and afghans and things does make sense. Like I showed before, it does have that kind of, if I can get it on camera, untwined yarn, which makes it interesting. It does have the easy start tab, which we are a big fan of. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started on our swatch. I'll probably make a really small swatch for this because I don't have all day to work with this. I just finished the swatch for this one. It's just a little baby swatch. That's all I could muster up. Unfortunately, this was not my favorite to work with. It is very pretty. I do like the stitch definition. Not my favorite for cotton yarn. This did feel a little bit more rougher on my hands, more like a traditional cotton would feel. It does have a nice drape to it. I would imagine after you wash it, it would only get better. But my biggest gripe with this was the threading. Because it's not twined together like they said, I found my crochet hook just really going through those threads and pulling and things. It did get better the further I went along. However, it just wasn't an enjoyable experience for me personally. Now, unfortunately, I didn't get to any of the color changes because, like I said, it's made for kind of long gradients. I will say that color is just so beautiful. I'm definitely not going to give up on this, but it's gonna be a long-term process, a labor of love for me personally. For the quality, I kind of struggled with this one because, like I said, I did love the feel of it on my fingers. The stitch definition is nice, so I'm gonna give this 2 out of 3 Knotty Bears for quality. As for value, this one, I'm gonna give a 1 out of 3 Knotty Bears. It goes for 21 Canadian before tax, which is quite steep. You do get a lot out of one cake. I think I said before it was 200 grams, which is 800 meters of yarn. I would bump this up to a 2 out of 3 Knotty Bears if you can get it on sale like I did. I got it for $10.40 before taxes, which is so much better. So I do recommend waiting for this one to go on sale. Lastly, we have Versatility, and this one I also kind of struggled with because even though it has a lot of different color options, and there are actually I think 5 or 6 different types which all have their own colorways and everything, so there's a lot of colors to pick from. However, they are all super fine untwined yarn, so they're all the same, just different colors and gradients, which I think really is because this yarn has kind of one purpose, which is to be made with like shawls and hanging garments and scarves and things, which we love. There's nothing wrong with that. However, as far as other things you could use it with, there are not as many, but considering that it has so many different color options and things, and they really do go out of their way to make sure that there is a color for everyone, I'm going to give this a 2 out of 3 Knotty Bears. And then lastly, should it Ami? I'm going to say no for this one, unless you're doing micro amigurumi, which in that case, I think the strands would still be pretty annoying. I'm just going to say avoid using this for amigurumi. Use something a little bit thicker, please. My overall thoughts, the colorway is probably my favorite out of any of the cakes I have. That is just so beautiful, and there are so many that I really do love. You just have to have a little bit of patience and you can make something beautiful. Next up is Friends Cotton Silk, which is the one where I took it out and I immediately noticed how soft it was. I'm really excited to try this one out. HOBBII'S website says, combining 77% cotton and 23 of barrette silk, Friends Cotton Silk truly is a lightweight delight. A silk and cotton tone-on-tone thread are intertwined, creating the most delicate contrast. The color palette is mainly calm and subdued, with a couple exceptions for more intense hues. So you know the drill by now. I'm going to go make a swatch and I will come back in a second. Dare I say, I may have found my new favorite Hobbii yarn with this one. I just finished the swatch and here it is. It's just a little one again. However, this was a dream to work up. No splitting. The stitch definitions are beautiful. It glided beautifully through my fingers and on my crochet hook. I really, really like this one. I could see using this for garments and decorations and different things like that. The color is beautiful. You can see the 2 different color strands in there. It is very minimal, but it adds just kind of a little extra depth to it, something a little bit more interesting than just a perfect solid. I have no complaints with this one. Very happy with it so far overall, but let's give it its final review. Starting with quality, I'm gonna go ahead and give this 3 out of 3 Knotty Bears. Really happy with it. Like I said, the stitch definition is beautiful. It's so soft. It crocheted nicely. I didn't have any issues with splitting, and that color is just so gorgeous. I don't know what I'm going to make out of this, like maybe a sweater or a cardigan out of it. It's just that nice. As far as value goes, this was $6.20 Canadian. I did get it on sale for $4.45, which is much better. I'm going to give this a 2 out of 3. It is a cotton silk blend, so those do tend to be a little bit more expensive. And I actually think that the $6.20 is more than fair. Getting it on sale for $4.45, however, does bump it up to a 3 out of 3. So depending if you get it on sale or not, I'm going to sit this at a comfortable 2 out of 3 Knotty Bears, but like I said, if you get this on sale, it is a must-have. Lastly, we have Versatility. This only comes in one weight. However, it does come in over 23 colors, ranging from muted to some more vibrant options, which I think is really good. And I think this could be used for a ton of different projects. So I'm going to give this a 2 out of 3 Knotty Bears. And lastly, the Should It Ami. I'm going to say that this technically could make a really cute amigurumi. However, when you're spending this much money on something like silk, it doesn't really make the most sense to waste it on amigurumi, since you could make it out of something a little bit cheaper and have it look pretty much the same, if not better. And this only has 23 colors, so technically I think you can make a cute amigurumi out of this, but should you? I'm going to say no for this one. Next up, we have Minium, which is another super fine yarn. You know, I love those. And it looks like this. I ended up getting these 3 colors. In the previous shot, I totally just stopped talking and forgot to say what I ordered. So this is what I got. I don't think I noticed that it was super fine, if I'm being 100% honest. It is 100% acrylic, and it has kind of like a pearly sheen to it. The Hobbii website describes it as a lightweight microfiber acrylic yarn that is all about vibrant colors and effortless creativity. Its soft texture and subtle shine gives your projects a polished, high-quality finish, whether you are knitting or crocheting. Like I said, I love these colors for summer. I'm going to do my test swatch, and I will come right back to let you know what I think. Alright, so I know I've been hating on super fine yarns. They're just not my favorite to use just because they mostly take so long. However, if one is going to change my mind, I think it's going to be this Minium. I just finished this little swatch here, and you guys, look how beautiful that works up. The stitch definition is probably my favorite out of all these so far. It's just so clean and clear, and the color is so vibrant. Also, working with it was a joy. I had no splitting whatsoever. The threads feel super tight, and it just glides through your crochet hook. As far as swatches go so far, this is my favorite one. It just looks so good. It's so clean. It was a joy to crochet with, minus the fact that it takes so long, and I just feel like I'm just sitting there forever getting nowhere. But that's a me problem, I think. For quality, I think I'm gonna go ahead and give this a 3 out of 3 Knotty Bears. Like I said, the stitch definition is amazing. It has a really nice drape to it. Again, I think if you were to steam block this, it would really bring that drape out even more. So 3 out of 3 Knotty Bears for quality. As far as value goes, this is $4.95 per skein. It's a 50-gram skein ball, which I believe equates to 175 meters. It is 100% acrylic, so that is a little bit steep. However, having used it now, I see the appeal with the stitches being so nice and it being so fun to use. I did get this on sale. It was $3 per skein, which is much nicer. Now I'm happy I got a bunch of different colors because I'll definitely be using this for something. But overall, I think I'm going to give this 2 out of 3 Knotty Bears to be safe. Lastly, we have Versatility, and this one here, unfortunately, I think I have to give it a 1 out of 3 Knotty Bears, only because there's no other weights or anything, and it only has 15 colors, which are very specific. They are very bold and colorful, and I do like them a lot. However, as far as versatility goes and things, I think this is pretty specific to garment making. So I'm going to give it a 1 out of 3 Knotty Bears. But I do want to say overall, I really do like this yarn. If you have a specific use for it, like I said, those stitches are beautiful and it was really fun to work with. Now, should it ami? I'm going to say yes, but only if you're doing maybe micro amigurumi, because it is a super fine yarn, or really small details like shirts and things. This would be really good for just like little characters that people make with clothes and things, because the stitch definition is so nice. It recommended using a 4mm crochet hook, so if I used my tried and true 2.5mm Addy swing hook, I think these stitches would be even closer together and even more pronounced, and I think it would be really pretty. Overall, I think Minium is a really good yarn. I do wish it had maybe a thicker weighted option with some more colors. However, overall, I think it's a really good yarn. We're making our way through here. Next up, we have one that I'm kind of nervous to try. It is the Recycled Cotton by We Love Yarn, and there's not much to say about this. It's 100% recycled cotton. HOBBII'S website says, "We want you to be able to enjoy a yarn completely made out of recycled yarn. We believe that it is important to prolong the lifespan of pre-existing cotton, and we want to give our customers the choice to use the fibers as long as possible. The cotton is used to manufacture recycled cotton, is post-consumer, and it mainly consists of repurposed garments, household items, and things of that nature. We love being eco-conscious and recycling, so let's give it a swatch and see what we think." I gotta say, I am much more impressed with this than I thought it would be. Here is the swatch I just did, and as you can see, it's very pretty. The stitch definition is really nice. It also has a nice drape to it. Again, I need to block these to really know the full drape. However, I really like the way this looks. I'm going to say, if you are someone who complains or does not like the feeling of cotton on their hands, this is probably not for you. It is just a little bit more rough. Personally, I actually don't mind it that much. I've definitely felt worse for sure. I really enjoyed it. I was worried that I'd get some splitting in there, since looking at the fiber, it does have kind of like, you can see that it is Not the tightest twist, however, I didn't have any issues. So let's review this bad boy. We have one more after this. So as far as quality goes, I'm going to give this a solid 3 out of 3 Knotty Bears. I know that seems high, but for a recycled cotton, I'm going to give it a little bit of a boost because I think that being eco-conscious in crafting and everything is super important. The stitch definition is beautiful. It feels pretty nice. I would like to know how it feels after washing it. However, like I said, it has a nice drape, so we're going to go ahead and give this one a 3 out of 3. As far as value, I'm also thinking 2 or 3 Knotty Bears. It's $1.95 Canadian before tax, which is really good. It's a 50-gram skein, which is 160 meters. So you do get quite a bit of yarn for under $2. So I think I'm going to go ahead and give it a 3 out of 3 Knotty Bears here. And if it goes on sale, which they often do, you can get it for even less. So I think it deserves it. For versatility, I'm between a 1 or maybe a 2 Knotty Bears. I'm not entirely sure here because there's just the one weight. There's no other variegations or prints or anything. And there's 17 colors, which is an okay start. It is a recycled yarn, so I appreciate them making the effort. So I think I'm going to go ahead here and just give it a 2 out of 3 Knotty Bears. I know that might seem high, but again, I just really appreciate when things are eco-conscious and we're recycling. And like I said, I really do think it is a beautiful yarn. All right, everyone, we finally made it to the last one, and I'm very excited for this one. This is the Toucan Friends linen. I don't know if I said it before, but a lot of these were labeled Friends, and all that means is that the colorways are similar, so you can kind of match them up to each other if you were looking to use the cotton with the silk and the numbers were the same. I believe that you can combine them. So that's just all the Friends means. But this is the cotton linen. The Hobbii website describes it as crafted with 50% cotton and 35% viscose and 15% linen, embodying the essence of quality and versatility. This great blend brings together the comfort of cotton, the silky texture of viscose, and the natural feels of linen. It sounds expensive and luxurious, and with the warmer weather coming in, it's never a bad thing to have something a little bit lighter to make things out of. This is a lightweight yarn, and I ended up getting this variegated color, which I really like, the pink and purple hues. It is very Knotty Bear coated, like I said before. So I'm gonna go make a swatch for this, and I will come right back with our last review. All right, everyone, we are done with our swatch. These fine yarns are really testing my patience today. However, here is our little swatch. And as you can see, it turned out so beautiful. I am obsessed with this color. I can't wait to make something out of this. This is so vibrant and fun and just good for summer. And it's linen, so that's perfect. The stitch definition is honestly one of my favorites. It's probably just behind the Minium, but it is really good. And working with it was really nice. I think that viscose really helped balance the linen. Usually linens are a little bit more rough and not my favorite thing to work with, but with the viscose, it really glided through with minimal issues. So really overall, I was really happy with this. For quality, I think I'm gonna go ahead and give this 3 out of 3 Knotty Bears, which I wasn't expecting for it being a linen-based yarn. But then again, I guess it's only 15% linen, I believe, 35 viscose, and then 50% cotton. It is very soft. Those stitches are just beautiful. The color is so nice, and like I said, I loved working with it. So 3 out of 3 Knotty Bears seems appropriate. As far as the value goes, this is $7 Canadian before tax, which again, this is a linen yarn, so those do usually go for a little bit more. So this actually isn't too bad. I got it on sale for $4.60, which makes it a little bit more affordable. I'm gonna give this 2 out of 3 Knotty Bears. If you're looking for a linen that isn't too scratchy and is easier to crochet with, and you don't mind a fine yarn, then I would definitely recommend this. Lastly, we have the Versatility, which is where it kind of loses a little bit for me because there's just one weight and there are only 17 colors. Most of them are variegated like this one here. So I do think that limits what you can make with it, but I think this is really good for like summer garments and things like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 1 out of 3 Knotty Bears, but I would love to see them expand this range one day. If you are looking for a linen yarn that isn't too expensive and has some fun, vibrant colors for summer, I would definitely recommend this yarn. As far as should you ami with it, I'm gonna give this a no Amigo as well. Technically you could, but because it's a linen and it's a little bit more expensive, similar to the silk, it just doesn't make sense. Future Chris jumping in here real quick. I know this video is long enough, however, I just realized I totally forgot one of their most popular yarns, which is their chenille yarn. Thankfully, I already have it in my collection and I've used it a lot, so we don't have to waste our time doing swatches. I'm gonna keep it real fast. So they have a couple different options here. However, the main ones are Honey Bunny and Toucan. You can see them here, and they are a super bulky weight chenille yarn. Toucan is newer. It came out last year. It is very similar to Honey Bunny, which is their original one. Comes in 2 weights, a super bulky, and then I believe there's a skinnier version, which is like a skinny chenille. It's maybe a little bit less than a bulky. Each comes in over 30 colors, which is a really good selection, especially if you're making amigurumi. And there are also some different variations, like variegated versions and sprinkles and things like that. So there's a lot of options here as far as chenille goes. My only gripes with it really would be that sometimes frogging it can be quite annoying. It does do that thing where as you're pulling it, it kind of clumps up. It makes sewing a little bit difficult, but I find that's true with all chenille yarns. Each one comes in 100-gram balls, which is 120 meters, so you get quite a bit. The Toucan goes for $9.26 Canadian. I have seen it on sale for as low as like $6 or $5 Canadian, which is pretty good. Honey Bunny is $9.20, so very much the same. Like I said, if you keep your eyes out, you can usually find them on sale. As far as the reviews go for quality, I'm going to give it a 3 out of 3. Like I said, the only thing I don't like is when you're frogging it, it kind of gets all clumpy and messy, which is why I try and avoid frogging chenille yarn at all cost. It is super soft and the colors are so vibrant, and I know I'm not the hugest chenille fan, but with this one I can usually make it through. I even made Fiji the winter bunny into a Valentine's Day theme using the Toucan Chenille, which I think turned out really adorable. So overall, I'm pretty happy with 3 out of 3 Knotty Bears for quality. As far as value goes, it is a little bit on the pricier end. When I was looking at Michael's and comparing it though, most of the skeins are a little bit more there, but they are a little bit larger, so I think it works out to be about the same. Again, it all depends if you get on sale, which Hobbii loves to throw sales. So if you can get it a little bit cheaper, I say this is more than fair. I'm going to give it 2 out of 3 Knotty Bears. Again, I think it could be a little bit cheaper, but if you just wait for a sale, then it's the perfect price. Lastly, we have Versatility, and I think this goes for all chenilles across the board. They're really having their moment with the amigurumi design. There are obviously some things you can make, but I think they're more novelty. You could do some clothes or blankets, but I don't think it's really ideal. For that reason, I'm going to give it a 1 out of 3 Knotty Bears. It's not necessarily its fault, it's just the general nature of a chenille. Like I said, it's having its moment in amigurumi design, and that's what we love it for. But overall, Honey Bunny and Toucan Chenilles are my go-to, like I said, when I do want to make an amigurumi that is chenille, which isn't all the time. However, I always gravitate to this one when I do. And of course, it'll be no surprise, should it Ami? Obviously, I think yes, it does a really good job making amigurumi. They're super cute and soft, and I definitely recommend it. Anyways, I promise that's the last one. Let's get to the outro. Well, everyone, that brings us to the end of the video. This was a lot of fun. I got to try out a whole bunch of new yarns, which I always enjoy, and we had some surprise new favorites like the Minium, which I was not expecting to like as much as I did, but I think my new favorite is definitely that cotton silk. I have to make something with that ASAP. It was just so beautiful. I love the colors and everything about it. But really, there was something to love out of all of these. I truly didn't hate any of them. They all had something to offer, so I can't wait to make some projects. If you have suggestions for certain yarns, like the Cotton King Sultan one, if you have something I should make for that. I don't see myself making a shawl, so maybe something a little bit different. Definitely let me know in the comments down below. Also, if you've used any of these, definitely let me know what your experience was with them. I would love to hear. If you are interested in getting any of the things I talked about today or anything from Hobbii, I will leave all the links down in the description below so you can easily find them and check them out and see what deals they have going on. They just switched over from their Easter sale to their Yarn Forever sale, which has up to 60% off yarns, so definitely go check that out. Thank you everyone so much for watching this video. Please give me a like and subscribe if you enjoyed it. Thank you to my Patreons for supporting me. I could not do this without you, so thank you so much. If you are interested in joining the Patreon, definitely check out the link in the description down below. But I will see you next week. Until then, stay naughty, friends. Bye. I have my Addy swing hook, which is a... Next up, we have Fantasy Jumbo, which is a soupy... Balls.